My name is Joe Wooden from Tory Consulting. Welcome to our vlog series on all things design. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Aniruddha Kadam. Aniruddha is a very experienced design leader, most recently UX design manager at Google, with some previous experience at both Shopify and LinkedIn, which makes him the perfect candidate for today's topic, which is navigating change in a complex environment. And you've very recently moved to Australia from the US. How have you found integrating into Sydney lifestyle?
Thank you, Joe, for having me here. Hi, everyone. I'm Aniruddha. Yeah, I moved 3 months back, and it's been a great experience. This is my second winter for the year. So even though it's not as cold in Sydney, I'm really enjoying the weather, the culture, the people, the food, and the coffee most recently. Before moving to Sydney, we took a road trip across the US, which was great. And I'm really happy to be here in Sydney over here.
Beautiful. At least you didn't move to Melbourne. Melbourne's weather is not so warm. It's pretty cold there right now, from what I understand. Today's topic, navigating change in a complex environment. I'm super interested to, find out a little bit more about your experience, obviously working in some of the most well-known and big brands. Can you give me maybe a recent example of where you've had to navigate some change in an organization and what that looked like?
Sure, absolutely. I think change is something that has kind of like been throughout my career, and I've always managed to work on teams which attract a lot of change. In my recent example, I was working at Google in the last for the last 2.5 years, and what I was doing at Google was managing a team of designers on our ads measurement product. This basically helped advertisers at Google make the most bang for their buck when it came to their advertising campaigns. And my team was pretty horizontal across all of Google's advertising products, be it Google Ads, Google Analytics, Campaign Manager, and a bunch of other advertising products. I was responsible for making sure that advertisers get the most out of their campaigns. But given the recent changes that are coming through in the world of advertising, number one, it being cookies going away. Cookies are going to go away by end of 2024, early 2025, and also a lot of regulation change coming from Europe. So my team was in the hotspot for helping make sure that we are able to manage this change, take our advertisers through this change management process, help them understand this entire change of regulation, change of privacy, and handhold their way through as they make their way through measuring their campaigns. So I managed to do that with my team in the last couple of years.
It sounds like obviously being in such a large environment and obviously the changes being pretty unknown and having to be able to explain them. What
Mhm.
strategies do you take on to be able to stay up to date and informed with everything that is happening within, let's say, a place like Google?
So there are two levels to that. Number one is really understanding the amount of knowledge that Googlers have. So working my team being so horizontal, working with cross-functional teams, the product, design, engineering, that always helps. I work with people at Google who have been around for like 10, 20 years. 20 years is the life of advertising in general. So it's always helpful to kind of like make those connections and work with people who have seen it all and tap into their knowledge and understanding. And the second level is looking outside of Google, looking at how European Union is implementing Digital Markets Act. So I'm always like looking at the macro parts of advertising, looking at how the world is reacting to it, and kind of like creating my own point of view based on that. So even with cookies going away, there are a lot of competitors in this space. So looking at what they are doing, what their products are offering to their customers, how are they differentiating their own product suite in a way that appeals to the customers is what I try to keep reading about and also kind of like bringing it back to my team as well.
Yeah. And how do you, communicate the upcoming changes or the changes that are currently happening to your team? So what tactics do you use to sort of make sure that they understand what is happening and how it needs to happen?
Absolutely. I think being in such a fast paced advertising SaaS based product, most people are accustomed to change. But what I try to do with my team is helping them understand that change is not personal. It's not because somebody does not like your project, or it's not because somebody just wanted to make a change. They're making a change, that it's all connected to the business. It's connected to the revenue that we are trying to make, the profits that we are trying to achieve as a company. So always helps to connect the change to a business or a regulatory change or a regulatory thing happening in the world, or just the overall like economic situation that's happening in the world. So connecting it to that always helps like dissociate the change from being personal to being something like, hey, it's happening in the world, so I have to adapt my way through it. Secondly, working with each designer on my team, each person on my team one on one, helping understand how do they react to change, so that I'm able to kind of like distill it in a way that works the best for them. And thirdly, working with their cross-functional partners. So it's like not just the designer; it's like the system around them. So how I communicated this change to my designer, or how I communicated to their product manager, their engineering partners as well. So kind of like filling in the gaps across like the team. So it's not just like my design team that I'm worried about. I'm worried about the cross-functional peers that they are working to with them as well.
I want to go back to your first point. I thought it was a pretty important point. Understanding that design isn't just about making good design; it is actually impacting a business. Like, do you find taking, let's say, designers who are early on in their career through that journey, that everything that they do has to have a business outcome, I guess, tied to it? Like, how do you take them on that journey?
It's always a interesting ride, that one. I think more senior designers understand that throughout like working in their career. They see that, hey, this is how my design changes are impacted because of how the business moving. With more entry level designers, it's a different ball game. I have to work with them one on one. In the past, I've taken OKRs and kind of like broken them down into how it connects to like their designs very specifically. Maybe I have a designer working on my team on, let's say, a sign up page, and they might think that, hey, this is something that is very design only. I'm going to work on the design details on it. I've always made sure that they are able to connect it to the business metric. um, I've always pushed my designers to be more product driven, in the sense that they own the product and not just the design part of it, that they think about the overall product experience along with the user experience. I've had designers on my team being interested on the business side of the thing. So I've helped them kind of like enroll into courses which help them build that muscle as well. A lot of like companies in the US who offer like a mini design MBA, or a short
Really?
that kind of like helps you connect the ROI of design. So I've kind of like encouraged that. I've also gotten designers to start contributing to product documents. And I have faced resistance on that front, but they would be like, hey, that's not my job, that's my PM's job. Why am I writing a product document, or why am I contributing to a product document? So I've kind of like helped them understand that their role in an organization is not just to make design. Their role is to make design that drives the user experience along with the business revenue and business metrics.
Very interested in that course you mentioned, ROI of design. It sounds like a really important skill for a designer to learn. And I think
Yeah.
in any economy, obviously, where currently businesses are downsizing a lot in tech and a lot in design to save costs, right? But if
Yep.
you can prove the impact you're having back to the business and the importance of good design, like, it just safe keeps your job, but it also makes design so much more important to any business. So I think it sounds like a very interesting course. But
A lot of courses have been popping up on that front.
I'm going to start looking at them because it sounds very fascinating. Maybe I'll send our team on some of those courses. You obviously worked in some pretty cool environments. Is there any examples of some successful change initiatives that you've led, and what made it successful? Was it the business or the outcome? What, talk us through the process.
Sure. I can talk about like a change management process that I took my team through during my time at LinkedIn. And I was able to see it right from the concept phase where we worked as a team where we had nothing, and we delivered the product experience, and we were able to successfully meet the user goals, make sure our users have the right product in their hands, as well as surpass the business metrics that we had put in place. So this was during my time at LinkedIn over COVID, where everything became remote. Remote jobs became new thing, and the world was really not ready for it. I remember during my time at LinkedIn, I was in the US, and we started, and I'll tell you a funny story. We started building, and I was building a team posting jobs onto LinkedIn. So the B2B side of LinkedIn. As a job seeker, you see the B2C side. I was managing a team of designers, putting the jobs onto LinkedIn.com, working with hiring managers as our users, recruiters as our users. And we started building a product that would enable customers, in this case, hiring managers or recruiters, to post a job and mark it as remote on LinkedIn. So initially, we didn't really think through a lot of the product requirements. We had to get a product to market really quickly because the world just started being remote. Nobody was ready for it. It kind of changed our plans so much. And a funny story that came out of it is there's actually a place called as a remote in Oregon, in the state of Oregon in the United States. And suddenly that little town started seeing a lot of job openings in the town, because people, instead of tagging the job as remote in its sense, they're tagging the location of remote to it. So suddenly the town of remote Oregon was seeing a lot of job spike, and there's absolutely nothing in that town. There's a gas station, one store, a couple of houses, that's it. But yeah, that was a funny story. What my team had to do during that time is manage this new ecosystem in terms of building out these remote jobs. We also had to work through with making sure that we get more job posters. A lot of the economy was really good. A lot of people were coming to LinkedIn to post a job, but they were jumping off to other platforms because LinkedIn did not allow for free jobs. So we had to build an entire muscle into the LinkedIn hiring ecosystem where we enabled to post a free job. We got people away from our from our standalone product onto LinkedIn.com, so they could stay on the platform itself and post a job and get applicants along the way as well. So in doing all of this, what really helped us is being really flexible to this new change. We shelved out, this was March or April of 2020. So we threw out a lot of our roadmap that we thought would play out in a COVID-less world. So we had to write out a whole new roadmap of how things were going to be. We had a lot of surprises along the way. So we knew that we had to get to market faster, but also kind of burn our fingers a little bit along the process, because things would not be perfect as long as it did not mess up our user experience or our business metrics that we are going after a lot. We had to experiment. For example, LinkedIn had only options to post a paid job before. With a free job, there was always a risk that we would cannibalize the revenue for paid jobs. So we had to experiment a lot. We had to build a product feature, ramp it only to a specific person, keep watching it, and if it works fine, ramp it up to a bigger number of audience. We had to keep kind of building it in a stepwise process. And we couldn't just kind of do 100% launch at any given time, because there were a lot of metrics at play. And thirdly, we had to learn to enjoy the product that we are building. There were a lot of hiccups along the way. There was a point where this was July or August of 2020, where someone posted the job for the CEO at Google, and hell broke loose on that Monday morning, and we didn't have those safeguards and checks in place. So yeah, we had to go back and do our homework again and fix these gaps that allowed people to get through. We built a product with good intention, but people were still using it in a way that it was not supposed to be. So yeah,
Helping
we
it
had to
test.
learn and experiment and burn our fingers, but yeah, enjoy. That became after everything settled. We had a drink over this uh, mistake that we had done while building a product, and had a laugh over it.
How, like, going back to, let's say, the start of COVID, right? No one knows what's happening. How do you manage, I guess, trying to do something new? How do you manage user expectations and making sure that experience still stays consistent, and then business expectations? Because, like, there's two very different driving forces here. It's like,
Mhm.
one's like, we've got to solve this problem super quick, and the other one is, I still want a good experience when I'm using the platform, and half the time you're paying for it. So, like, it needs to sort of have that continuity. Like, how did you manage that?
I think it's a fine balance of like it's a balance. You have to like look at everything in perspective of what are the implications of doing something and not doing something. And I can like give you a story about a product feature that we were trying to build during my time at LinkedIn. And what we were trying to do is our competitors had already built out a product which would help recruiters or hiring managers just press a button and filter people of color. If someone has opted into LinkedIn as that, hey, I'm a person of color, we could just, recruiters on the hiring side could just press a button and be like, hey, I just want to see a list of applicants who are people of color. So we built that out, and this is what our competitor was doing, and we're like, yeah, let's build it. It seems like a great idea. I think the world will benefit from it. So we had our business metrics in place on like the revenue that this new feature will get us, the engagement that it will drive. So we built some prototypes out, put them in front of our users. We went through a very rigorous user study for this. And we interviewed people of color for kind of like taking them through this feature. The feedback that we got was, this is great, works perfectly in an ideal world, but then what's been to include can also be used to exclude as well. And we got that feeling throughout that user research. And the risk of building it and experimenting it with this product feature was too high for this overall LinkedIn as a brand. And we had to work with like legal teams to make sure that they are also like in step with us in understanding what is that we are really building. And this was a decision that we took as an entire product team, that hey, we are never going that path, because we heard it loud and clear. What's built to include can also be used to
Yeah,
exclude as well. And
my
we wrote a
background's
document, yeah, we wrote a manifest like, hey, never go down this path. It's still there. And I have access to the product, and I see that, yeah, people have not tried to build that feature out at all. So you balance out the goals versus the metrics, understand the risks of doing as well as the risks of not doing something.
my background's recruitment, so I can definitely understand certain features with like a positive outlook on why you could use it, but it like is a fine balance there. And I think there's still some features maybe that you can include and exclude on like what you see in LinkedIn Recruiter, but it's hard to get that balance right, because I know that obviously best intentions are always there, but as recruiters, they're very specific in what they look for and how they look for them, right? So let's say I was hypothetically a design manager going into my first maybe design management role in a
Mhm.
large complex environment. What one single piece of advice would you give them to being able to sort of manage a complex environment
Ooh,
or navigate?
single piece of advice, I would have like 10 different things I would share, but I would say for a design manager, design being like so horizontal, definitely starting with the people. And in this case, as a design manager, you influence upwards to your leadership, whether it's like the execs, the C level, your VP level folks. You influence downwards as well with your team. And the most important part is that you influence sideways, where you work with your design peers, you work with your product and engineering and legal and sales and marketing teams. I think as a design, if you're switching over from an IC to design manager, that horizontal influence is what you have to absolutely nail down in a complex, big size organization, because that's what will really kind of like help you build your point of view and build that muscle of collaboration that you would absolutely need to execute in such a complex kind of like spaghetti bowl kind of like environment.
It's interesting. Like, I guess a lot of designers would go into the design industry because they love design. But it does seem you get to a certain point and it does become more of a communication skill. You
Yeah.
have to be able to explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, and basically just work with everyone else
Yeah.
to make a design happen.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
think the big word here is influence. Like a lot of people misunderstand influence as like, am I gonna like stuck up to someone or like just be a yes person? But yeah, it kind of like you need to chip down on influence. It's a lot more kind of like how are you driving that clarity? How are you working with people and building that consensus together and storytelling? Everything kind of like blends in together to build that influence as a design leader or a designer.
I think this is one of the most important elements of design, right? Like design is such an important part of any company because
Mhm.
of this influence and how a designer can influence horizontally and then up
Absolutely.
and down. So, like, I think it's a very important skill. Um, you obviously worked in some organizations with a lot of change,
Mhm.
and it seems to have happened that you've been there at the right time, like LinkedIn, obviously COVID happening, and with Google, everything happening from advertising. Like, how do you maintain your resilience or adaptability to face the change as it comes through? Like, how are you looking at it?
I think it doesn't come easy. It's always kind of like easy to get overwhelmed by the change that's surrounding you. Get overwhelmed by people's expectations around that change at that point. Personally, I try to, and I've learned to do that successfully over the past couple of years, dissociate myself from the change where anything that's happening, that anything that's not in my control, I can't change that. If COVID is happening in the world, if cookies are going away, if European Union is going to come heavy down on our product area, I cannot change that. Neither can I control that. So I will shift my focus to things that I can control. I can control and manage my team's well-being. I can control and manage my well-being. I can control and manage the user experience that my product drives while being cognizant of the changes that are coming through and how do I kind of like build that muscle of resilience in myself and my team to encounter those changes as they come through. How do we kind of like maintain our state of balance in terms of the things that we can do, that we cannot do, things that are urgent, not urgent, important, and kind of like prioritize at that level and then keep chipping away one step at a time, walking through the trenches together as a team.
It's like, I don't know. I'm excited to see where you end up. What's going to offer you in Australia the types of challenges that you've faced over the last couple of years? You've done some very interesting things with some big companies. So it's like I'm excited to see where you land in Australia.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think is going to be the challenge for you? Is there anything that you're really interested in I guess trying, or what's the next avenue? Industry or
I think I'm pretty open. Australia has a lot of amazing fintech startups. I think overall, as compared to the US, Australia is really ahead when it comes to finance and finance fintech. Also, I see a lot of sustainability companies and sustainability startups as well, which is very different from what's in back in the US. So, really looking at that, I think the design sensibility is a bit different over here. Just like culturally and how like design is seen in a company. I see a lot of like consulting approaches. I see a lot of service design. So trying to like understand that kind of like canvas more uh, in a better way will be helpful for me. And I'm basically like pretty open right now.
exciting? Well, there is a lot of good things happening in Australia, so I look forward to seeing where you land. Aniruddha, it's been an absolute pleasure today. I've learned a heap from you and very entertained by some of the stories. So I appreciate your time. If anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way of connecting? Just via LinkedIn?
Yeah, why LinkedIn is the best way. I worked at LinkedIn. I use the platform a lot. So yeah, that's the best way to reach out to me.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I'm a massive. I've been using LinkedIn since I don't know, it was like 2008, I think. I'm a big fan. It's very good for what it does. So love it. But absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.